Hi, thank you for joining me today. I'm Executive Coach Joelle Jay. As an executive coach, I strategize with business leaders to enhance their performance and maximize business results. Generally, I work with senior leaders in Fortune 500 companies, some of the best and most admired companies in the world. But I'm also fortunate to work with entrepreneurs, business owners, high-achieving leaders, and men and women just like you. Primarily, I work with leaders one-on-one. In coaching, it's a very powerful way to learn. The whole goal of coaching is to help you find your ideal strategy for achieving your vision and goals. And if you've ever had a coach, you know it almost feels like there are two of you because you're working with someone who cares every bit as much about your success and achievement as you do. That's one of the reasons that I'm such a proponent of coaching, but the very thing that makes coaching so powerful is also one of its biggest drawbacks. Coaching is by nature exclusive. When you work with people one-on-one, it may be highly customized, but then you're not working with a lot of people at once. And I believe that every leader deserves to have that kind of individualized attention. That's why I was so pleased when Nevada State Bank started offering these webinars, because it gives you and I the chance to peek behind the curtain and find out what the best leaders are doing behind the scenes to get their very best results so that you can too. I want to share with you a quote. All around us, a few exceptional individuals and teams are accomplishing the seemingly impossible. They're hitting higher than expected targets and making it look easy. They're doing it with more ingenuity and fewer resources, more speed and less stress, more trust and less time, while still managing to have rich and full lives. What I love about this quote is it presents an ideal image of what's possible. The question is, are you one of those exceptional individuals? And what if you were? What would be different? And how do you get there? What I want you to know is it's perfectly within reach. There are lots of leaders who are hitting higher than expected targets and making it look easy, who are high achievers with exceptional results and not a lot of stress, a lot of profits, even on short resources. And that's possible for you too. But what I also need you to know is you're not going to get there by doing what you've always done. In the words of Marshall Goldsmith, what got you here won't get you there. The rules have changed. I read somewhere recently that this economy is weeding out the slow, the average, and the lucky. We want to make sure that you are among the very best. So here's what I want you to do. In the next hour, I'd like you to give me your full and undivided attention. You don't even have to take notes. I will give you a summary of this presentation at the end, so you'll have everything you need to keep track of what you need to do to be your very best. What I do want you to do is to turn off the BlackBerry, shut down your email, and allow yourself to invest in yourself. That's the opportunity you have today. And if you make that investment, you're the one who's going to reap the rewards. By the end of this webinar, I want you to feel strong and clear about what you need to do to succeed and be your very best. What we're going to do is talk about personal leadership. Here's a definition of personal leadership. Personal leadership is the leadership of the self. It's the private, introspective side of leadership, the part that happens behind closed doors. It's what I call inner work, or refer to as your inner edge. Peter Drucker, the renowned management expert, once called personal leadership the only kind of leadership that's going to matter in the 21st century. So we better know what it is. It's absolutely critical that you know what personal leadership is and know how to practice it in your everyday life. To practice personal leadership, you apply the practices and principles of leadership that you're already familiar with to yourself. So for example, when you think about leadership, there are certain words that spring to mind. For example, vision. Leaders are always talking about having a vision for their organization, that inspiring image of the future that everyone's trying to reach. Or strategy is another big leadership word. Often in organizations it comes across as a strategic plan, this bulleted formal document of what everybody needs to do to achieve the vision. Or teams. Leaders are often in charge of the team of people who are all working together to get things done. So all of those are important and necessary components of leadership. When you practice personal leadership, you take those same elements and apply them to yourself. So as a leader, you also need a vision. It's not the same vision you need for your company. It's the vision you have for yourself. Who are you as a leader? What are you trying to accomplish? You also need a strategy. Maybe not that formal, bulleted strategic plan, but you do need a plan. And you do need to be strategic about who you are as a leader and how you're trying to get where you want to go. And that team we talked about, you also need a team, not just a team to help you do the work. You need a team that's going to support you in being the best leader you can be. Your mentors, your advisors, your mastermind. So again, personal leadership means taking the concepts of leadership that you're already familiar with, that all leaders use to make their organization successful, and apply them to yourself. Now, one of the questions I often get at this point is this maybe somewhat selfish? Personal leadership sounds like something I should be doing on my own time, like self-development. And why should my company care? In other words, what's the business case for personal leadership? First of all, yes, it is true that you are going to reap the rewards of personal leadership yourself. There are a lot of personal rewards, rewards like motivation and fulfillment, and some of those really tangible rewards like a higher salary or higher profits or a growing business. So there's a lot of satisfaction that comes with personal leadership that's about achieving your goals. But personal leadership isn't just about you. It also has concrete business results. Results like performance. When companies grow their own talent, which is essentially what you're doing when you're practicing personal leadership, they perform 11.7% better than those who don't. Productivity. One study found that for every 1% increase in employee competence, an organization gets $8,000 of increased productivity. And profitability. By being more engaged, you out-earn your competitors by 18%. Personal leadership makes for better business. It makes for better leadership. It makes for a better you. There are 10 practices of personal leadership. What I'd like to do is talk with you about each of the 10 practices, and at the end, we'll take questions and go back and revisit some of the ones that are most important to you. The first practice of personal leadership is get clarity. What do you want? It's a great question, and one that you should be asking yourself. What do you want as a leader? What are you trying to create? Can you envision it? Do you literally have the vision? Can you see what you're trying to create? Getting clarity is about having a vision for yourself as a leader. More than that, getting clarity is about connecting to that vision again and again every single day. I'm going to share with you another quote from Robert Cooper. Robert Cooper is an expert in neurolinguistic science, and he writes about essentially how to make your brain work in your favor. He writes, "It only takes a moment, a clear, far forward glimpse, a special stretch toward the future, here and there, every day, to keep the brain performing its magic, keeping you ahead in a changing world, and positioning you to an ever better future." So what does that mean, a special stretch every day? It means visualizing the future. Visualization is one of the most widely accepted and most popular techniques for getting clarity about what you want. You get clarity by visualizing your long-term outcomes day after day. And the research shows if you do that, People who do that achieve their goals twice as fast as those who don't. One person that I admire is Patrick Byrne. Patrick is the CEO and president of Overstock.com, which is one of the top shopping destinations online. He's also, in addition to being a high-powered executive, an entrepreneur. He created that company from scratch. He's also a leader, a teacher, and a role model. And he's a man who's beat cancer 3 times. Patrick once told me a story about how every time he beat cancer, he rode his bicycle from California to New York. I said to him, Patrick, wow, that's amazing. How did you do that? 3,000 miles on a bike. And he said, you know, I had this image in my mind of the Atlantic Ocean. Whenever Patrick got lost or tired or hungry or bored, he thought about that vision of the Atlantic Ocean. And he said, as long as I'm pedaling east, I know I'm going the right direction. That's the spirit of getting clarity. Arriving on his bike in New York, seeing the Atlantic Ocean, celebrating beating cancer. Every day he reconnected to that long-term vision with a short reminder to himself. Am I headed the right direction? That's the question you need to ask yourself every day. That's the first practice of personal leadership. Get clarity. The second practice of personal leadership is find focus. Where will you put your attention? When you find focus, you fix your attention on top priorities, even when the world around you is pulling you away. So see if you've ever had this experience. You shoot out of bed in the morning, and right away you're on the go. You jump into the car, you're on your way to a meeting, then there are emails and phone calls and projects. There's papers and things to do and people to call. So you're busy all day long, and at the end of the day, you collapse into the chair, and you think to yourself, did I actually do anything today? Have I actually accomplished anything? Even if you're crystal clear about your vision and you're connecting with it every day, sometimes we're just not able to focus on our priorities because there's so much buzz around us all the time. We get overwhelmed by all of the things that are clouding our vision and are in our way. In order to avoid that, you need to find focus. You need to find your top priorities. So how do you do that? Think about your vision again and ask yourself this question. If that's the vision I want to achieve, what are the 5 things I need to focus on in order to get that? I like that number 5 because if you can name your priorities on 5 fingers, you always have them in the palm of your hand. Let me give you an example. One of my clients is Sally Glassman. Sally is one of the top producing financial analysts from Merrill Lynch and has been listed as one of the top female advisors by Barron's Magazine several years in a row. Now, this is a woman who's extremely busy, obviously would have to be very productive to achieve that kind of status. She also has teenage daughters, which in itself is a full-time job. And she's fit, she has a side business, and she has hobbies that take a lot of time, things like bike riding and horseback. So when I was talking to Sally one day, and she told me what her goal was, I thought there's no way this woman can fit one more thing in her life. She told me she wanted to write a book. I said, Sally, how are you possibly going to write a book? She said, I don't know, but I've got to do this. She was extremely concerned. This was last year, and it was right in the middle of the economic downturn. She was so concerned about her clients. They had lost a lot of money in the stock market, and they'd lost their trust in themselves and their ability to maintain their financial freedom. So it was extremely important to her to somehow fit this book into her life. So we said, if you're going to do this, you're going to need to make it a priority. And that's what she did. To this day, I can still rattle off Sally's priorities. Number 1, she had to take care of her family. Number 2, she had to take care of her clients. And number 3, she had to take care of herself. If she was doing those 3 things, we agreed she would be able to write the book. And she did. And she told herself that as a reward when she did this, she would be able to do number 5, her 5th priority, spend some time with those hobbies she loved. So now, in the midst of that busy life, Sally's book is coming out. It's called It's About So Much More Than the Money, and you can find it at Amazon.com today. She is living